This is CBN Newswatch.
And thank you so much for joining us on this Monday, April 16th, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the growing threat from Iran as it increases its ability to enrich uranium, getting even closer to the ability to make nuclear weapons. So how will Israel respond? We'll explore. With all of the negative stories in the news, what is God doing in the world? We're going to hear about two amazing acts of God and how they touched so many lives. Is there an electric car in your future? There very well may be, because it looks like they'll be the future of driving. Looks like it won't be gasoline, but electric. We'll look at these upcoming automobiles. And the oldest living American has died, believed to be 116 years old. And one thing that marked her long life, her strong Christian faith. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to begin this half hour with a threat from Iran's nuclear weapons program. Although sabotage damaged Iran's key Natanz nuclear facility just a week ago, the regime maintains it's closer than ever to creating weapons-grade uranium. As Chris Mitchell now reports from Jerusalem, Israeli leaders met that boast with a promise that they will never allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
After accusing Israel of attacking the Natanz nuclear facility last week, Iran moved to increase its uranium enrichment.
The Iranian decision to start increasing uranium to 60% is disturbing. It is, I think, a signal to Israel and to the world powers that it is not going to be deterred by attacks on its nuclear facilities. Iran is trying to increase its leverage in the talks in Vienna.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani vowing they can go to 90% weapons-grade uranium anytime they want to, although the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement restricts enrichment to under 4%. At a meeting seeking cooperation with Greece, Israel firmly declared its red line.
We will do whatever it takes to prevent this extremism to success, and definitely will prevent this regime from having nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, in Vienna, a potential breakthrough between Iran and the five powers who signed the original nuclear agreement.
We think that maybe the talks have reached a state where parties can begin working on a mutual draft text. The writing of the text can begin at least in the areas that mutual agreement exists.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, it seems like Iran is relentless in its pursuits of nuclear weapons programs. Now they're getting even closer than ever to a possible bomb. Tell us more about the reaction in Israel to these latest developments.
Well, first of all, Ephraim, the Security Cabinet met on Sunday. That's the first time they'd met in at least a couple of months. They're very concerned that the Biden administration really wants a deal at all costs. And that what that does is that put Israel's on the diplomatic sidelines. So they really have very little influence and really no intervention into these talks in Vienna. And so what that does is put Israel and the United States at odds. They continue to make the case, just like the foreign minister, Gabi Ashkenazi, did. They will not allow Iran to get any nuclear weapons. Ashkenazi is just the latest to make that case. Benny Gantz, the defense minister, did that. Avi Kovhavi, the IDF chief of staff, made that plain as well. So has Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And in just recently, Israel has increased its attack on Iran, the Natanz case right there, as well as battles going on the sea between Israel and Iran. And yet the Vienna talks are going on, and it's very concerning to Israel.
Is there much hope the talks with Iran will slow down or even stop their nuclear program?
I think there's very little hope right now here in Israel, Ephraim, about they're going to stop or slow down the nuclear program. In fact, I think they see them going, these talks in Vienna going the wrong direction. And here's why. First of all, they're not planning to destroy those new centrifuges that are enriching uranium almost up to weapons grade level and not going back to the 2015 levels. Other things that are being talked about in the media right now and coming out of Vienna is possible reparations for Iran for getting out of the nuclear deal by President Trump in 2018 and having that maximum pressure campaign. They're also not addressing ballistic missiles. And so Iran really wants this deal. They want the lifting of sanctions. They want to loose the restrictions on their nuclear program. And so, for example, the Natanz sabotage, as you mentioned in the intro, it's seen by some in the U.S. as designed by Israel to undermine the Vienna talks. And that puts more friction right now between Jerusalem and Washington.
Israel says it simply will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Is this something everyone in Israel's sharply divided political scene is unified on?
Yeah, as you say, Ephraim, it's very sharply divided here politically. Remains to be seen if they're going to be able to get a government together, possibly going to the fifth election. However, the idea of Iran really does unify the political spectrum over here. One example, Benny Gantz is really a political adversary of Netanyahu. They're divided politically, but they're really on the same page about Iran. And Netanyahu recently said, he said it at the Holocaust Memorial just a few days ago, that Israel's not bound by any new treaty coming out of Vienna. Gantz as well, he warned that they already have targets set for a possible military strike against Iran. So it means, what it does mean that when the green light comes, if it comes, it remains to be seen when and if that will come, that I think those politicians on the political spectrum are going to be on the same page. Now it's very concerning here in Israel that Iran may be a few months away from the breakout to a nuclear bomb. Some have said even a few weeks, and that's all very disconcerting to those Israeli officials as well as Israelis here in this country.
All right, Chris Mitchell, thank you. An ongoing story that we will continue to follow. Much appreciated. President Joe Biden called the situation on America's southern border a crisis for the first time Saturday, making that comment during an impromptu conversation with reporters in Delaware. The president was defending his administration's change of policy, deciding to allow more refugees into the country, after at first saying they wouldn't increase President Trump's limits. But after a strong pushback from other Democrats and some supporters of refugee groups, the White House flipped and said it would increase the number of refugees allowed into the country. As he was explaining the policy change, he said the administration has not been able to deal with the number of refugees because of the crisis on the border. Here at home, half of American adults have now received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and almost a third are now completely vaccinated. Now, White House Chief Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says people who have already been vaccinated may need to get booster shots, and an annual vaccine may be needed, similar to the seasonal flu shot.
I believe by the time we get to the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall, we'll have a pretty good idea whether we definitely or not need to give people boosts and when we need to give it to them.
Meanwhile, the Johnson & Johnson single-shot vaccine is still on hold after 6 women suffered severe blood clots. That's out of 7 million vaccinations. But that pause is expected to be lifted this week, possibly with new restrictions. The White House is launching a media blitz today to get the word that the vaccines are available for everyone older than 16 in minority communities. Coming up, while the headlines talk about the bad news going on these days, we're going to bring you some amazing examples of what God is doing that you may not be hearing about. We'll talk to Dan Andros of FaithWire.com when we come back.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
Welcome back. Despite all the troubling items in the news these days, God is still at work in the U.S. and around the world, even if those events don't make the headlines. Here with us to tell us more about some powerful stories of what God is doing is Dan Andros of FaithWire.com. So Dan, Pulse is a ministry that calls itself an evangelism movement led by millennials, and they recently held an amazing Good Friday broadcast, which was streamed here on the CBN new YouTube channel. How many people did it reach and what happened?
Yeah, it was a great event, Ephraim, and I'm just going to echo what you said there. We have to cover the news, and you know, it can be tough day in and day out to inform Christians and people of what's going on in the world, and there's a lot of tough stuff out there. But I think we can easily lose sight of the fact in our human nature that God is going to get His will done one way or another, regardless of our efforts of man. It's our futile efforts, but we kind of forget that sometimes. In the midst of all that crazy news that's going on. But this event, Ephraim, as you said, was spectacular. And Nick Hall is the founder of Pulse, and they hosted a 2-hour live stream, which ended up reaching about 200 million people. It had a great response. Nick said they heard, their team heard and got from over 1 million people that had watched this thing. So a great response from this Good Friday event. And as you said, it was streamed here on the YouTube channel for CBN News, which we often carry live events. We also had the Garden Tomb Good Friday service there as well. And Nick said he wanted this to be a rallying cry, an annual rallying cry for people to learn about and talk about and worship Jesus. So in total, it was broadcast in about 186 countries, 24 territories, and translated into 39 languages. And Nick wanted to make it clear that it's not about Pulse. He said, quote, "This is about Jesus being lifted high through the global body of Christ, the church."
Indeed. There's also been a Baptist church in Tennessee that is seeing something amazing happen. Tell us about that and how it came about.
Yeah, Pastor Robbie Gallaty, we've got an extensive interview with him over on FaithWire.com. He told us that he's a pastor down in Tennessee, and he told us that he was having a period of solitude and silence with the Lord. That's how he described it. And he said in December that the Spirit was pressing on his heart the word spontaneous baptism. Now, this is something that he'd never done before. And he said, I'm a little leery of it because there's some problems that can happen when you just open it up and, you don't know what people are going to say. So he hadn't done that before, but he said he decided to be obedient. And in that first weekend, which he said was a lower attendance than normal because of COVID and, everything else that comes along with that. And he said he had 99 baptisms in one day, which he said he'd never seen anything like that before at his church. And in the last 4 months, they've had over 1,000 baptisms, which is a big number for them.
I can imagine. So do people come from far away for this? And how does this compare to the number of baptisms this church has seen in the last few years?
Yeah, they did. He said over 15 states, with their services being available online there and people watching online. He said he didn't call for anybody to come, but they just started showing up. And so they were happy to baptize them. But they said that a normal year, for context here, in 2018, they baptized 162 people for the whole year. In 2019, 222 people. Still great numbers, but they've got 1,000 already just a quarter into the year. So amazing stuff happening. It's great to see that God's going to move no matter what's going on in the world.
Indeed, he is. Dan Andros of FaithWire.com. Thank you so much for your time. I want to remind you at home that you can catch FaithWire this evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, and you can find it on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, auto companies have been building electric cars for years, but with little success or profit. But Tesla's electric cars changed all that, and the auto world is now playing catch-up. We're going to look at how electric cars are the wave of the future when we come back.
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times best-selling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
That car you're driving may soon be a dinosaur, and that is because the signs on the road seem to point to the future of automobiles not being gasoline but electric. But will consumers be convinced? Our George Thomas takes a closer look.
Should have seen this coming. A stampede unleashed 55 years ago.
Is the electric vehicle revolution finally here?
The all-electric Mustang Mach-E.
After years of attempts, the world's big auto giants...
Introducing the next all-electric super truck, the revolutionary GMC Hummer EV SUV.
And dozens of startup companies...
The future. It's impossible to see. And when it's finally here, it might not be what you'd expect.
...are betting big that the electric car is here to stay.
Introducing Lucid Air.
Joe Wiesenfelder is executive editor at Cars.com.
We could be at a new point of acceptance for electric vehicles.
52% polled in a Car Guru survey say they plan to own an electric car within the next 10 years, up from 34% in 2018. GM, Volvo, and Jaguar positioning to capture a piece of the market by going all electric in 15 years.
And we're going to see much more of the types of vehicles that Americans are already most interested in gas and diesel form, which is small SUVs.
Mustang aficionado Ken Cook says tying Ford's Mach-E SUV to the iconic sports line is a bold move. He already drives a 2018 GT, then took the 2021 all-electric for a test run.
To put that badge, put that pony on another vehicle and call it a Mustang, I think it was very brave, but I think they did a really good job.
Ford and other car companies chasing Tesla, which right now dominates the U.S. EV market.
Tesla basically has revolutionized automotive industry.
Vitaly Katsenelson, author of Tesla, Elon Musk, and the EV Revolution, says Tesla's innovations forced car makers worldwide to rethink their business models.
When people thought about electric cars before, they thought about golf carts, right? Tesla made an electric car, and then people realized electric car is actually a superior vehicle to internal combustion engine car.
I love the way the car drives. It handles wonderfully.
Skip Bowman couldn't agree more. He's owned one for 3 years and says he'll never go back. He's not alone. 4 out of 5 of all electric cars bought in 2020 were Tesla.
With Tesla, I can speak with, they don't advertise, but yet they're doing really, really well. And why is that? It's because the car is very stylish. It has that punch. This car can beat practically any car on the highway, so guys really like to be able to see, some type of muscle car pull up to them and you just wave goodbye to it as you go past it.
Sales and reviews for Ford's Mustang Mach-E have remained solid since it came out late last year. Let's see how fast this baby flies. So I wanted to see for myself. And it wasn't bad, though I missed the growl of the Mustang gasoline engine. Let's be clear, gas engine cars aren't going obsolete anytime soon, but there are big challenges facing electric cars. For example, there aren't enough places around the country where you can charge an EV car like this. And then there's the issue of the battery range. How far do you have to go before you have to juice up? And finally, the sticker price. Cars like this are typically more expensive than vehicles that are powered, similar vehicles that is, that are powered by gasoline engines. Ford and others are tackling those concerns.
That's one thing that I think Ford Motor really thought about when they introduced the electric car. They want to make it as affordable as the normal Mustang GT to attract that consumer that loves the power and the speed of the muscle Mustang.
President Biden's massive infrastructure bill calls for spending $174 billion toward electric cars, including consumer tax credits to buy EVs and building 500,000 electric charging stations across the country. Jeff Lyash's group in Tennessee is already moving with a plan to put one every 50 miles along the state's roads and highways.
We will deploy these chargers in locations that are safe, secure, clean, and with conveniences so that individuals who have a nearly depleted battery can plug their vehicle in and reach an 80% charge within about 20 minutes.
TVA is also teaming up with 5 other power companies to create a charging network covering the South, Midwest, and Atlantic coast.
We hope to have the first of these chargers in service before the end of the year and have the project completed sometime next year.
So with dozens of new vehicles set to hit the American roads this year, the question is, can car dealers convince drivers that EVs are the future, despite some of the concerns consumers have about switching to electric cars? George Thomas, CBN News.
Coming up, the oldest living American has died, a woman for well over a century, seeing historic changes, and throughout her life, she demonstrated and spoke of her own strong Christian faith. We're going to bring you her story when we come back. Stay with us.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place, all day, every day. The CBN News Channel. Download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com. CBN News.
The oldest living American died peacefully in her sleep over the weekend, and her life was marked by a strong Christian faith. Hester Ford celebrated her 116th birthday last August, though she may have actually been just under 116, depending on which historical census record was accurate. Either way, she lived through an historic century and 2 pandemics. Ford had 12 children, a family which grew over the years to include more than 120 great-grandchildren. She was able to live in her home to the end with the help of family members. A nurse who took care of her during a hospital stay told the Charlotte Post Ford loved the Lord and, quote, anytime you would talk to her, you would know it. And one of her granddaughters said Ford credited her Christian faith for her long life. Time now for your Monday motivation, and today I leave you with this thought. This challenge you face is not meant to break you. It's meant to make you stronger, better, and ready for greater. Don't despise the trouble. Embrace the lesson in the trouble, because God can use it to prepare you for what is coming next. With that word, I encourage you to make this a marvelous Monday and have yourself a wonderful week, and do it on purpose. That is a wrap for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us at the address right there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, and God bless.